Hello everyone. Today let's go over a Leetcode question I just solved by myself. This one is a similar question to the famous k closest points to origin question, so it's good to do questions around those grind 75. This one is more of a medium, I think, than an easy, and it took me quite a while, but I finally managed to solve it. So let's read the description. So you're given two integers x and y, which represent your current location on a grid, and you're given a 2D array matrix where each point, the first index, the zeroth index of each point is the x, and the first index of each sublist is the y coordinate. And essentially what they're asking you to do here is to find the smallest distance from your current location. So whatever point is closest to your current location and has the smallest index. If this is not possible, then just return -1. And they tell you how they want you to calculate the distance here, so we can just start coding it up, I guess, and just simply just simulate the process, right? So, okay, so let's start with let's define whatever they gave us. Let's call it start x and start y. So this is going to be the point that we're comparing to when we loop through each list in the input. And then let's define a dictionary because we're going to want to keep track of several different points of information here. First of all, the index of the current point in relation to the input matrix, and also the total sum, and then also the points themselves, right? So in this case, so if you take the formula x1 minus x x2, which it doesn't really matter because you're doing absolute value, so you can do it either way. They're going to get the same result. 3 minus 6, 6 minus 3, absolute value is the same, right? So 3 minus 3 plus 1 minus 4 in this case is going to be 0 plus 3, which is going to be 3. Because 1 minus 4 is -3, absolute value is 3. And so, cool. So let's loop through the points now, and let's try to find the distance, right? So let's call this current x and current y, which is going to be the current sublist's 0th index and the first sublist the current sublist's first index, and then we are going to find the distance. Let's call this total, or whatever you want to call it, current distance. And that's going to be the current x minus the start x, absolute value, just as it says here, plus the absolute value of the current y minus the start y. And we're going to want to find the smallest distance, so let's define a variable here called smallest distance and set it to float of -infinity, because if we have like 0, we don't want to set it to 0. Just make it easier and more clean in case there's some edge cases in the future. So we got our current distance. Now we want to figure out what to do with this information. So we want to, it seems like, push it into our dictionary, right? As we said. So we're going to push the current distance into the dictionary. So we want to sort by two pieces of information here. First of all, the index and also the sum. So let's focus on one of them for now. Let's focus on the distance. And let's append the current index, which we're going to need. So let's call this IP and enumerate points to get the index as I and the value, which is the current sublist, as P. So I is 0, P is 1, 2, I is 1, P is 3, 1, etc. Let's append this to the value section of this dictionary since it's a default dict and you don't have to check if the key is already in the dictionary. That makes it handy. And let's so we got the total sum, which is the current distance, right? And now we want the actual coordinate itself. So let's call this current x and current y, which we got from here. And then let's print this dictionary to see what we got. Append only takes one argument, 3 given. Okay, I think you have to define a list because that's kind of one of the rules there. You can't just append a bunch of values without a data structure. Okay, cool. So now we have our values, but they're the distances from the current or the original point, but they're not even sorted in order. So let's sort this dictionary by the keys first. And to do that, we're going to call the sorted method, pass it in as a dictionary, and then we're also going to call the items, which is the key and the values of the dictionary. And we're going to call a lambda function to do this. What are we sorting by? Again, we're sorting by the key itself, which is x0, right? x1 is treated as the value section in this syntax. Let's print D to C. Not supported between string and integer. Okay. Okay, that's because I defined this incorrectly. That should be fine. Okay. So now we have our sorted total, but now we also want to sort by the index, which if you recall was the 0th element of the 0th sublist of our value section of our dictionary. Okay. So now what we can also do is sort. Python is a nice way to sort by not only one things, but also two things. So we're going to sort by x1, 0, right? Because we want the... So x1 is this. x0 of each sublist. Let's see what that looks like. So 1, 2, that's fine. Let's see if this is sorted. That doesn't look like it's sorted correctly. Okay, so let's try to clean this up a little bit. So 2, 4, 4. Okay, so you know what? We can just try to make this a little easier. So the 0th index, we want to sort by this now. This is the index. How to do that? Okay. You know what? Let's just leave this as it is for now, and let's try to find the result. Or we can try to figure out how to sort this now, which is kind of difficult. Now you have lists of lists, which is, if you look at the time complexity, that might be a problem, but we can try just dk.sort key equals lambda x0. Let's see now. Okay, that's still not sorted in the order that we want. But that's fine. Let's move on. So right now, what does it say next? We want the closest distance, and then we want the smallest index. But we also want to make sure that at least one of them is touching, because you're given an array. A point is valid. We want to find a valid point if it shares the same x coordinate or the same y coordinate as our position. Okay, so let's loop through our dictionary, and let's loop through the, let's call this current. Let's loop through the sublist of the value of the dictionary. Okay, so if, well, now we're in the sublist. Now that you know the sublist's first index is x and the sublist's second index is y. So if C1 is equal to start x, or C2 is equal to start y, then we're good. Then we can just return our index, right? So C0, because we just want the index. Let's run that. Okay, I guess if not, then we can just return -1. We still haven't sorted yet. Oh, I guess it did sort it by that. That's strange, because when I did it earlier, it doesn't look like this is sorted, but I guess you're still just getting the smallest index automatically. So let's print current. I just want to see what this looks like. But okay, so it is sorting it by the actual value itself. Okay, interesting. Or maybe not for this specific. Okay, okay, I see. These are different lists, so it is sorting it by the first index. My mistake. Yes, it is. I was doubting myself there. Okay, cool. So yeah, I hope this is helpful. This is more of a medium question in my opinion. There's a lot of little tidbits that you have to do, but it's not too bad. And yep, hopefully this was helpful and it just made sense to you. So stay tuned for more videos and thank you for watching.